Okay, guys, we're ready now to start our panel discussion. We have a couple of questions here that have come in from the floor. So we'll start off with these. So, everyone, this question is open to everyone. How did this production actually come about? So,
everybody's looking at me for this one. So my name's Adam McGuigan, and I'm the director of the piece and director of the piece. Do you just want to say who you are?
Yeah, I'm Ashlyn Baxter. I'm an actress in the piece.
I'm Katrina Cunningham. I'm an actress in the piece.
I'm Cameron McKendrick. I'm also an actor in the piece.
My name is Frankie Cunningham, Secretary of DIR LOL 534, also Chair of Building Communities Resource Centre.
Thank you, Frankie. My name's Mary-Louise McClary and I'm the Manager of BCRC, Building Communities Resource Centre. Thank you.
And also an actor in the piece.
Can we go wrong?
So how the piece came about was, I kind of spoke about this a wee bit this morning in the taster, was that in 2016 I moved to London, and that was around the time that there was all the discussion about Brexit after that, and I was just listening to the news, and obviously I'm from Ballymoney, which is 5 minutes up the road, and hearing how Northern Ireland was talked about but not talked to was something that really incensed me. So I could hear people talking about, after the Brexit vote backstops and the Irish problem, the Northern Irish problem, which it really infuriated me. And it was just over that year, it was just, there wasn't really our voices or people's voices from here were getting across, certainly from where I was listening to it in London and England. So I wanted to do a piece which gave people here the chance to have our voices heard. And I was really angry about it, and it was a very kind of angsty piece. And as I said this morning, nobody wants to listen to an angry Ballymoney man ranting and raving. But then I'd read an article in a newspaper where it said something, I'd been listening to radio phone-ins as well, where people were talking about Northern Ireland, and that's where it really annoyed me, because it was so ignorant, and the way people talked about it. Some of them were in the introduction of this video earlier today, and it just was so rude the way people were talking about it and being really dismissive. And this newspaper article that I read said, England doesn't want us really, the South don't want us really, which was, that's not easy to hear, but yet we're this kind of proud people, and short of oil being discovered in the River Bann, that wasn't going to change. So that's where the initial idea came from. I was thinking, wouldn't it be brilliant if we could create a piece which was funny and was, from my experience, people in this part of the world have got a brilliant sense of humour. So it's through humour that you can really start to have conversations and create dialogue. Because, like in the piece, we've never had anybody offended. It's everybody's had the mickey taken out of them equally, and I think that's really liberating. So I wanted to create a piece where we could just laugh. And you've got, a parody of Arlene Fossey, you've got a parody of Michelle O'Neill. In the piece, you've got Orange Men, you've got Hibernians, you've got different people, but everybody at the end of the day is united, because everybody has got this one mission to make Northern Ireland a success. And when oil is discovered, that's the cry. It's about how do we make our country a global superpower, and what's the effect of that on everybody across the country if that happens. So that's kind of, for me, where the initial idea came from. And then, I don't know, you guys, do you want to talk about where your involvement was and then how we can talk about BCRC?
Well, I quite luckily was asked by Adam to read over the first couple of drafts of the script that he created. We sat in a cafe one day, did a few voices, and we did a script reading in a theatre in Liverpool, which we invited some people to watch. We got some feedback off them. And after then, we then, about a year later, went into the rehearsal room and devised a few things. Adam had kind of ideas of how he wanted the scene or the story to go, and we would literally just get thrown into the deep end, see what kind of came out of us, what natural kind of colloquialisms or situations or scenarios we came up with. So we've all had a hand in creating the final piece that you've seen here. But for me personally, it was actually great to delve back into Northern Irish politics a little bit, because I've lived in England for about 9 years now, and I've only probably started getting into the English politics in the past 4 years since Brexit. So it was a kind of a learning thing for me to hear about all the political stuff going on while I've been away and delving back into that.
Great.
But, sorry, ladies first.
Well, I guess just BCRC's part was, I know that we're looking at marking 100 years of Northern Ireland this year. Some people might celebrate, some people might commemorate, and we just wish to do something, and we've been doing a number of different initiatives, creative writing, songwriting, and we thought we would have a piece in drama. And I know that my colleague Angela Mulholland, she had seen the biggest show in the country a couple of years ago at the Riverside Theatre. So she just linked in with Adam again to see if it was possible to actually produce this, because it's quite pertinent to some of the issues that we're actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and especially this year, and especially the difficulties maybe around commemorating Northern Ireland or marking this centenary. So we thought it would just be a very apt resource for going forward into this year, so that anybody could actually talk to the cast here, talk to the director, Adam, and actually see if this is a resource that they would like to use throughout the year. Ideally, what the cast want to do is actually to have like several, maybe 100 productions, was
Love
it?
to, yeah.
Aiming for 100 productions over this year. So anybody there in the audience, you're very welcome to use yourselves as a link in to get in touch with the cast, and certainly have that production in your own area. So this was quite unique today. Obviously we're working with COVID restrictions, and so we had to film certain parts of it, the outdoor scenes, whatnot. And must thank very much our Gortrichy AOH. So part of the filming earlier on was in the Hibernian Hall in Resharkin, and I must say they were excellent hosts. And today you find us in Dervick Orange Hall, and equally the Orange Order have been excellent hosts to host this part of the play. So we just really thank the Orange Order of Dervick and the AOH of Resharkin in Gortrichy very, very much for their hospitality. Equally, I want to thank Causeway Coast and Glens Borough Council have actually funded this piece as well. So really want to thank them for their commitment to the work that we do in trying to improve community relations. So really, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I'll pass over to Frankie.
Thank you very much. Primarily, another role I have within the community is I'm involved in a programme called PIPS, which is Peace Impact Programme, co-funded through the AFI. Basically, within the last 3 years, I've been working within the local communities and a community up from Derry, London, Derry, Leafire Community Association, which is basically ex-combatants from the Republican nationalist side, engaged with loyalist paramilitaries or ex-combatants from that family. Now within that, we've had community dialogue and looking at cultural diversity topics. Also within my own community here, we've done reenactments with Jonathan Burgess from the Blue Eagle Productions, again from Drumahua, he's from. Again, looking at cultural diversity through the legacy of Lord McCartney, who was the landlord of Derby and Lochgiel, from both different communities, but looking at the similarities, commonalities within that. We also did one there recently called War's End, which is co-funded, ironically, from DFA Dublin. Again, looking at the whole storyline about how both communities were involved within the Great War and how it impacted on both communities. No, and I seen this here with discussions with Angela, Claire, and Maya Louise as an extension of that, so it's been brilliant, And there's definitely a good laugh to break down barriers.
Yeah.
I mean, we should do it more often. Over a pint. Or Guinness.
Yeah.
With a whiskey.
Just to say, I know that some of the questions are coming in on the live chat, but we're actually not seeing them. So we're having to sort of relay them by messenger. So it's just the way it's working up on the internet here today. So thank you for your patience.
Yes, we have a question from Michelle Knight-McClellan.
Oh,
Her question is, why did you choose Akadui for the setting? And where did the influences for the characters come from? Surely not Akadui, because I think Michelle's from Akadui. So thank you, Michelle, for that.
Well, I'll answer that one as far as so I can't really say this with a straight face because Claire, who's from Akadui, is in the room as well, so I can feel her eyes like down on me in case I say anything bad. But as I say, I kind of grew up in Ballymoney and I used to work in Akadui. So when I was in primary school and whenever I went in secondary school, I worked out at a horse riding stables in Akadui. Whenever I told that to Claire and her family on Saturday, they were like, "Oh, very posh, you were," and I said, "No, I was cleaning out the horses. I was the one mucking out." So I know Akadui quite well. I really love that area of the country because we would take the horses out after the whole day into the fields. So I know that area of the world quite well. So I don't know, Akadui has just always been a place that I kind of, as a kid, knew very well. Also, I think the name is brilliant. So if you're taking this outside of this part of the world, or over to England or wherever, I think the name is very evocative. Akadui it's just a great name, and it's somewhere I know very well. In terms of characters, there's characters in Akadui for sure, but I don't know. I suppose the idea for the characters came from, as Cameron was talking, we were doing workshops around the early versions of the play, and I suppose it's more what the characters represent, really. I'd say, we only got bits of the plays. We were just showing some highlights today, but Cameron's character that he played, Michael, is a young fella who lived in England and came back, and I suppose that was very much my voice, which was having kind of moved away and having that perspective of seeing things again and being homesick, actually, because I found, through creating this piece, I was quite homesick, especially for the accent. Not hearing your accent, I think, is a big thing. So that was kind of where the impulse for that character came from. These two characters, again, your character, Pat, was very much this contrast of John and Pat, somebody who's really, I think we see this all the time, somebody who just really loves where they're from and feels the earth in their bones and is from the land and works the land. And I just think that's a really lovely, I love that idea. But then on the contrast of that as well is somebody like Pat, she kind of represents somebody who might have gone to Australia in a different era or might have gone to America but never got the chance and ended up through one or two decisions being in an area that she grew up in, but she's not happy about it. So she always had aspirations. And I think that's something quite powerful as well. And then Mary's character, I just think is a really interesting character because she, again, similar to John, these two characters from different communities just love where they're from, are really proud of where they're from, and all contribute to the community that we're from. So I think having the Protestant and Catholic kind of version of that was really important. And also there's so much humour in the religious idea as well. Everybody knows the character that he's very religious, and I think there was just lots to play with. And also we were really lucky that amongst the cast here, we all come from different backgrounds ourselves. So there's Protestant, Catholic, different kind of different ages, obviously different genders and different communities. So that was all brought into the mix, and that's where the characters emerged from, really.
great. Thank you.
It was a while long answer.
Questions are coming in now.
Good, good.
So the second question comes from Hedley Abernethy. If people wanted to watch this drama and COVID restrictions still apply, would it be shown in the same format as we saw today?
It's very, I'm aware I'm talking a lot, sorry. But
Thank you, Helen.
we're really keen to get, as Marie-Louise said, as many people to see it as possible. So our conversation started months ago, so it's really tailored towards this performance today. So we would really tailor it. We've got filmed content. We're very passionate about doing live content as well, because it's nice as much as possible to interact with people. We would love to bring people into the Orange Hall or into the Hibernian Hall. That was the beginning of the conversation before COVID, was that we wanted to bring people into different spaces they hadn't been to before. And you know what, even us, some of us here today have never been into an Orange Hall before, so that's a really important part of the process. So I think if we were doing the performance again, it's really about who's asking, who's the host, and making sure we make that as interesting as possible. Because of COVID, we've had to be a bit savvy and record quite a lot of it, but we're really keen about doing it in collaboration with different communities, different partners, different people working in the community, but also having a live presence as well to make sure that we are able to. This wouldn't have been the same. We wouldn't have met Frankie, we wouldn't have met James and the people from the Hibernian Hall if we hadn't been here in person, had a bit of crack, heard about the history and a bit about what was happening. So we're really passionate that we can do this on Zoom, we can do it on the internet, but we're really passionate that should also have a rooted, a safe. We've all been tested and we've all been working together using the guidelines. But yeah, we would like to, as much as possible, look people in the eye and see people and have that as part of the process too. We're documenting the whole process from our side. So yeah, we'd be really, did I even answer that?
That's
You
good.
did.
No,
Fantastic.
I think so.
I actually just wondered.
You fell asleep.
No, but I actually wondered, just from the audience's point of view, I mean, you could do like a thumbs up. I don't know, I might not be able to see it, but it's just, did it work? You know, did the film content and then the live drama, did that work as an audience? Maybe even Paul could maybe give me a wee bit of feedback on that, because I'd just be interested to hear.
We can't see all the
Yeah.
thumbs.
We can't see thumbs down. It has to be all thumbs up. So I don't know if people are responding, but I hope it did work.
We'll make sure to see what they come back with.
Yeah.
We have another question here from an anonymous attendee.
Okay.
So the question is, what's next for the production moving forward? And how can we use it to create stability and prosperity between both sides of our infamous communities? So thank you for that question.
I suppose it's nearly echoing what you actually said previously. You know, I guess definitely there's a plan to roll the drama out this year. Is a good opportunity. And obviously the unique thing about this drama is that there's this discussion, there's the dialogue afterwards that Frankie's highlighting how important it is, you know, to actually have a dialogue and possibly even bring people across the threshold of Hibernian halls or Orange halls or church halls or anything at all, any venue that's maybe perceived as being one side or the other. It's just a unique opportunity for people to actually host this drama within their own community, and obviously then with the dialogue afterwards, it's about trying to engage people, I suppose, and let people hear, you know, different sides of stories and attitudes, or learn a wee bit more about the history of the venues, the church halls, the Orange halls, the Hibernian halls, maybe, that might be a venue for this. So it's about learning maybe more about that heritage, and that it's something that almost needs more tolerance and acceptance around different institutions. I mean, we're all people at the end of the day, and it's really, institutions are just like clubs for anybody, and so it's about trying to understand that history and discuss it and remove the fear around it.
There's one wee thing which I think I shared with you guys when I was doing this, and you know, I'm not a kid. I'm like nearly 40, and can't believe it just.
I can't believe
It's part of this play. It's had because there's an orange man in the play, and I was doing the costumes, so I had to go about how do I get an orange sash, and I had no idea, and I don't know any orange men. So I was thinking, and then I also didn't know, is it rude? Do you ask somebody to, and I just didn't know. So I went online, and there was a couple of places in England that were doing it. And of course I didn't know what the number, I was Googling what's Dervik LOL, what's Ballymoney LOL. And then, I don't know if this is a reflection on Orangemen, but they charged me twice. But it ended up that whatever I did something wrong anyway. And it came back, and I had an email with this guy, but I felt really anxious emailing him. Because he was asking me, what's the number, what's this? You ordered a junior one, and I was really nervous thinking, oh my God, I hope this guy doesn't think that I'm taking the piss or, ordering it for something. I didn't want to say it's for a play, but it was very interesting for me to go through that process where I was thinking, I don't know enough about this and I feel anxious in that situation. So in the end up, we asked Claire, and Claire borrowed one for us, which was brilliant. But I thought that was a brilliant, just an example of me being nervous about my ignorance and not knowing, but being scared to ask and thinking I would be perceived in a certain way. But I'm sure if I had just said, Frankie, what's the crack with this? How do we get one? But I'm told to say again. It was mine. It was yours. It was yours. Brilliant. You see. But I thought it was just, in terms of what's next for the play, just even in this one little experience for us, I think there's so much potential to, like you say, break down those barriers.
I say, can I just echo sentiments? Again, through being the chair of the Community Association and the support again of BCRC, we've put an application looking at the whole story and legacy of the B specials. For some communities within Northern Ireland, they're showing bad reflection. So basically what we're looking at is, again, do a small reenactment, take it into, I think within the application, there was 12 venues being allocated for it, to be shown. So again, I was basically to try and break down perceived barriers, dispel a lot of myths, about the formation of the B specialists, how after the Great War, people came back and a lot of them were traumatised. I suppose, and put it in today's context, a lot of them suffer from post-traumatic stress. A lot of them joined the B specialists, and a lot of them were traumatised, probably a fair little income, so we're looking at the whole storyline around that, again, it's the whole perception that we as communities hold against each other, and that basically stems from disengagement, Dialogue is the way forward, for anything. Look, Martin Louise will probably laugh when I try and quote this. I always try and use it as an example. Aristotle, who's a Greek philosopher, says it is the mark of an independent. I'm off it. You can cut that bit. It's a mark of an independent mind to entertain a thought without accepting it. Basically what it says, there's no harm in listening to somebody. What harm are you going to do?
Just want to say what James said as well about politicians and the bands and instruments.
James, Neil, it was very interesting as well. We got a great welcome there as well as here. And he was saying that years ago, maybe on his father or grandfather's day, that they couldn't afford instruments. So the AOH Hall and the Orange Hall would have borrowed instruments off each other for St Patrick's Day on the 15th and then for the 12th. So he said until the politicians get involved, and that was very, very interesting to me. I wouldn't have no idea about anything like that. So it's been an education for us.
Like even on a local level here, before my time, just about. In the 1950s, the 12th of July was held at the village here, but Paddy McCann. The late Paddy McCann, who owned one of the public houses just around the corner, and the North Irish Horse, which was owned by a gentleman who served in the Queen's Irish, the tank regiment. Both of them on the 12th actually brought beer and Guinness in here for the Orange Man, you know. So again, and then regretfully the plague of climate change in the late 60s, you know, like, and things did change, you know, to some degree. But again, I find again within small rural communities, you know, I mean, it's never as bad as people try and portray. You know, like we're kind of isolated. Like historically, we were isolated from the main troubles in the early 70s and 80s. You know, I mean, I did have an impact to some parents, you know, within the community, but like again, example, the local chapel in the village here was paint bombed in the 80s, and it was actually Orange Men from this lodge actually went up and painted over the graffiti and that. You know. There's always been a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's only when you raise the issue that people just think or perceive that there's an issue between both communities.
Yeah, I think that's what's also nice about the piece. And within the piece, the two communities, even though our characters, Pat and Mary, tend to have a bit of banter, they really do get on, they care about each other, and once they find the oil, it's all about a crack, you know, the communities together. Until then, in this scene that you have just seen there live, it's quite grotesque. When the politicians get involved, it just shows you, like, once what Jane said, once politics get involved and politicians get wind of it, it kind of wrecks it for everyone. So it's really nice this piece can bring the communities together. And like, I've never been in an Orange Hall, and to be honest, I was a bit worried and I was a bit nervous outside, and then I come in and it's absolutely beautiful. It's lovely. I'll be back. But that's what I mean, you know, this has always been like locked away. Like, I'm a dairy girl, I would have no other reason to be in Orange Hall.
So used to until today?
Yeah, never.
I don't think even I had.
No.
And he's a Belfast boy.
Well, you know you should.
But you were nervous. We
were slightly nervous.
I think it's to do with in case you'd say anything offensive or you do anything, or it's very hard to explain. It's just the fear of the unknown, and it's
a lot of the fear is done by media, but when you personally and you get to know somebody,
absolutely.
you know, it helps break the environment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another question?
Another question here from an anonymous attendee. How much do you think this play would work in England? Would they get it?
Yeah.
And that just sort of feeds into a guy called Edmund de Block. He's saying, congratulations, well done. So,
thank you.
but he's saying, personally, I don't think the show could travel far outside its boundaries. So, you know.
Well, we performed at the Liverpool Irish Festival, and we did a read through. I did a read through in London as well. So, do you just want to talk about Liverpool, how that was?
So yeah, we brought it to Liverpool, and fair enough, because it was an Irish festival, we maybe had certain audience members who have a background or know a bit of knowledge about Irish history. But there was also some people, fresh faces, who just decided to pop along and see it. I think we all agreed some of the stuff went over their heads, like some of the kind of jokes that we would make to each other, and maybe some of the references. But everyone's still like just laughing at how outrageous we were. Also, like, is it really the worst thing if it didn't transfer in England? I think, you know, we should be concentrating back here, because I think we have this thing where we always like to worry about what England's going to think of it, or is it going to, or English people going to get it. But I think we should just focus a little bit more on nurturing ourselves now.
Well, personally, I was thinking we could take this to LA.
There you go.
You're right. And what was really good about Liverpool, the Liverpool show actually, was I was surprised at how many audience members said afterwards, you know, I really learned a lot. I didn't know that. And they've seen Arlene, they've seen Arlene, like particularly this year with Brexit, the negotiations. She's been quite a big figure. So they found it really really funny. So and especially, you know, when you read English jokes, you know, the place is overrun with the English and stuff. They did find the comedy, but particularly they learned so much
Yeah.
about this place that they didn't know.
Yeah, that was the thing from London and from Liverpool. That exactly, people saying, "I didn't know that," or "I didn't know that."
Mhm.
And to be honest, in the full version, we have Edward Carson comes back for a couple of different short scenes with a couple of quotes. So that was interesting as well, to give people a bit more context. I don't think people listen when Northern Ireland comes on. And
Yeah.
one of his scenes says the two most boring words in the English language in the 1980s or 90s on the news was Northern Ireland, because people were sick hearing of it. So we were really passionate about making it fun, and our humour. People laughed.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't from here, people laugh. I think it's really important to take it to
Yeah.
England, Scotland, Wales, and the Republic as well, because also in the south they don't have a clue about a lot of the stuff that happens up here as well. So I would say that it's part of the impetus of this, and then this 100th year is to get out there to other places, and exactly what you say, it's about having this dialogue, so people don't feel scared to ask, are you Catholic, are you Protestant, and what does that mean? You know, we should be able to, through theatre and through art, be able to start those dialogues. So
Well, it's a bit like, you know, in the play you mentioned dairy gears. Now, I was talking to somebody that was involved in dairy gears. They did not think dairy gears would go as far as it's done. It's gone all around the world. And she said that a friend of hers was Pakistani and she loved it. Her mother-in-law thought, because it's about warring families, the father-in-law hating the son-in-law. And to me, this play is a lot about family, you know, about neighbours, bickering, family, and politicians. No matter where you are, politicians hate each other, or some of them do. So it's a very universal thing for me, I would imagine.
And the other thing is an underdog, because I think that's a real story of an underdog, isn't it? Like whenever might be used to be, you know, dictated by the block grant or that or whatever, this was about taking those shackles away and just dreaming. What would happen if the underdog became the hero? And that's definitely Northern Ireland, and the people are the hero in this piece, and that's really important. And I think again that's universal. That's
Great, thank you. Angela, another question?
Yeah, we have another question, but we have another just thank you for everybody. Alicia from the ARH would like to thank BCRC, Adam and all the cast, for giving her Tricky AOH the opportunity to take part in the play, and they look forward to sharing it later on in the year. And it's been great to work alongside Dervick LOL as well, so they thank you for the amazing opportunities. So that's lovely. So thank you very much for that, Alicia. Somebody else has asked the question, have you any link with the real biggest show in the country, and if so, do they like it?
The biggest, do we have in the full show? No, how do we say this? So Asin and I went on to BBC Radio Ulster before COVID to publicise it.
We did.
And of course they were asking us, does your man know about it? And we were trying to get him to know about it. When we were in Liverpool, there was something about it that got to him, an email got to him or something. So after our first performance in Liverpool, I was lying knackered in bed the next morning, listening to the biggest show in the country, as I had been doing at that time. And Vinny had emailed me to say, that morning, to say, oh, would you be up for coming on the show? But I didn't get it until he went on to the show. So I listened, kind of thinking they might mention it. And they mentioned it, and Stephen slated us. What was it he said? And Vinny kept saying, do you hear there's a show about you in the Liverpool Irish Festival, about Stephen Nolan and about this? And Stephen was saying, what are you talking about that rubbish for? Stop going on to me about that rubbish. That's, inane, banal rubbish.
I'll sue them.
I'll sue them.
It was a great line.
And then people started ringing in saying who would play him. So they had a bit of crack with it. Somebody rang and said, St. Peter Kay, somebody rang in and said, I'm ringing in about the Nolan show. Art imitating life. I'm ringing in about the Nolan show. I think May McFerrin should play Stephen. So there was a wee bit of crack about it. But no, we haven't. But your man Stephen is loaded. So we were looking for sponsors for the next stage. Stephen, the biggest show is coming to you.